Okay guys, welcome back to my channel, Char. Actually, I'm tired already because I recorded this lecture a while ago and I just found out that the notes that I was putting in the PowerPoint presentation is not being recorded. Okay, so sad. That's why I have to utilize another software to record our lecture. So, guys, okay, for the output, which will be recorded under class participation, please take down notes in a notebook. So that is the instruction in a notebook. Why? Why do I insist on using a notebook? Okay, because if you use bond paper or a yellow paper, mabilisan nyo lang yung itatapon. And guys, please remember that you will still have your comprehensive examination. Do not be disturbed by the parasite on the screen. Okay? You will have a comprehensive examination before having the board examination. Okay? So, you cannot just graduate from USL without passing the comprehensive examination. And what is the coverage of the compre? It will cover all the professional subjects. Okay, so the subjects that you will also take in the board examination. Kung hindi mo po yun maipapasa, well, there's a big possibility na hindi din kayo mag-board exam or hindi kayo graduate. Okay? Kailangan may pasa mo na yung comprehensive examination. So, guys, please lang, you take down notes and you keep those notebook. Okay? Hindi yung tapos na yung SEM and itatapon nyo na. Sayang naman yung effort. Okay? Okay, so for today, I will be discussing introduction to parasitology. So we will tackle the common terminologies that are used in parasitology, mga pinaka-common na mga terminologies. Okay, so learning objectives for this chapter is that I was not able to put it here. You, my dear student, should be able, okay, after the discussion to define on your own the most commonly used terminologies in parasitology, discuss the various types of parasites and hosts, explain the relationship between a parasite, a host, and the effects of the parasite to the host, discuss in detail the classification of medically important parasites. And for the last objectives, we will cover that on the next topic. Okay? Kasi sobrang mahaba na to, itong first topic pa lang. Okay, so for the first part, we'll discuss the association of organisms. There are actually 5 main symbiotic relationships, namely mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, predation, and competition. But we will only focus on the first 3, mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Okay, so in mutualism relationship, both are benefited. Okay, so you have 2 different species that are benefited. Okay, pareho silang nagbe-benefit from each other. In commensalism, okay, in a general definition, so that is one living organism is benefited while the other is not harmed or not benefited, which means only one of the 2 living organisms, okay, is actually benefited. Okay, so that is for commensalism. In parasitism, one organism lives at the expense of the other. Okay, so what is the difference between commensalism and parasitism? In commensalism, okay, one is benefited, the other is not harmed. Okay, the other organism is not affected. Okay, so but in parasitism, one of the living organism is benefited, okay, at the expense of the other. Therefore, the other living organism in parasitism is actually harmed. Okay? Nahaharm yung isa sa parasitism. So, Parasitism, that is actually our main subject. That's why we call it parasitology. Because one of the organism is living at the expense of the. Okay guys, so sorry for this the gap because I had a problem. I recorded this part and then I'm on the uh 14th slide and I went back and I saw that there is no audio. I don't know what happened. That's why I have to record it again. Okay, but regardless, we still have to do this. Okay, so what are examples of parasites? Common parasites. So we have malaria caused by Plasmodium species. Okay, hookworms. So what are under hookworms? We have Necator americanus and Ancylostoma duodenale and caninum. And we have a very unique parasite that robs us of our vitamin B12. Okay? So that is the Diphyllobotrium latum. So I hope this is being recorded. Diphyllobotrium latum. O, di ba? Nag-improve na. Yan yung hindi kasi kanina na-record. That's why I have to repeat it. Okay? So it competes with our vitamin B12. Okay? Competes with our vitamin B12. That's why prolonged infection of Diphyllobotrium latum would lead to what type of anemia, guys? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Megaloblastic anemia. Okay? Megaloblastic anemia because there will be an abnormal DNA synthesis, okay, or maturation. There will be an abnormal maturation of the cell resulting to, is it microcytic or macrocytic red blood cell? Macrocytic, di ba? Megaloblastic anemia, macrocytic red blood cell. Kung naaalala nyo lang naman yung biochemistry natin. Okay, so we will discuss depredation and competition because they are not important symbiotic relationship in parasitology. Okay, how about for bacteria? Okay, so we go to bacteria before we give parasites with mutual or that are commensal or parasitic in nature. So, how do you consider bacteria, guys? Are they a friend or a foe? Okay? Do we have a mutual relationship with bacteria or commensal, or are they parasitic to us? Okay? Because the most common notion is that when I say bacteria, okay, bad yan. Okay, it could give us diseases. Okay? But guys, if you remember in our discussion, kung napakinggan nyo na, in our discussion in clinical chemistry, okay, there are bacteria that actually benefits us. Okay? Therefore, we have a mutual relationship with this type of bacteria. So, what is that bacteria that we discussed in bilirubin metabolism? Okay, the intestinal bacteria. So what um what are they doing? Okay, that benefits us. So if you remember, they convert the conjugated into unconjugated. They convert the conjugated into urobilinogen in the small intestine. And aside from that, the intestinal bacteria are actually helping us in digestion. That's why we have a mutual relationship with them. Not only are the intestinal bacteria, but also the bacteria that are residing in our reproductive system. So, saan yan? Sa vagina, di ba? So, we have a mutual relationship with them. There are also commensal bacteria, okay? So, it's already here because yun nga, I recorded it kanina pero hindi na-record yung voice. So, examples of commensal bacteria that we have in our body are Staphylococcus epidermidis, Streptococcus species in our nasal canal, as well as Lactobacillus. Okay, I know the Lactobacillus, we have a mutual relationship with them. Okay, so the normal flora, uh, the bacteria that are acting as normal flora in our body are actually considered as commensal bacteria. Okay, so there are also parasitic bacteria. So we are referring to the type of symbiotic relationship. Okay, not parasite, virus, or bacteria. So there are a lot of bacteria that actually harms us. Okay, so what are the common example, guys? If you remember, can you still remember pathogenic bacteria that we discussed in your bacteriology 1? So about gram-positive cocci. What are pathogenic bacteria? So, okay, nag-automatic na naman. Balikan muna natin. So, what are pathogenic bacteria under gram-positive cocci? We have Staphylococcus aureus. How about the gram-positive cocci that is also referred as the flesh-eating bacteria? Ano yun, guys? That is Streptococcus pyogenes. Okay? So we have classification for parasites. So like for example, classification according to their habitat. So we have ectoparasite and endoparasite. When we say ectoparasite, these parasites, they reside on the external surface of the host. Saan yung external surface? So sa skin natin, sa hair, sa nails, those are external part of our body. Kung ano yung na-expose sa labas. Okay? So, what are parasites that are acting as ectoparasites in human beings? So, meron ba kayong alam? So, we have a very common parasite, ectoparasite, the head lice. Okay? Head lice, yung mga kuto, yan, sa hair. Okay? They are scientifically known as Pediculus humanus capitis. Okay? So, that is their scientific name. Another external parasite or ectoparasite, but this is uncommon. Okay? This is uncommon even in our country, even if we are a developing country. This ectoparasite is not common. That is the pubic lice. Okay? The pubic lice, a lice that is residing in mga genital area. Okay? So, the scientific name for pubic lice, that is Therius pubis. Okay? So, Therius pubis. The presence of an ectoparasite on a host is termed as infestation. Okay? Contrary to endoparasite, if you are harboring an endoparasite, we term that as infection. Okay? How about endoparasite? Endoparasites are parasites that reside inside of the host. Okay? Ectoparasite, they reside on the external surface of the host. Endoparasite, they reside inside the host. And the presence of endoparasite is termed as infection. So the medically important parasites are actually endoparasites. So the coverage of parasitology is about endoparasite. So the parasite